Good evening, everybody. My name is David Peralta Ortiz, and today we are going to try to answer the question, what does semantics study in this brief video? And also we are going to address some basic concepts about the topic. This is a video for the subject English Semantics that is in charge of the teacher Brenda Ruiz Morales, and today is August the 8th, 2019, okay? So let's start. First of all, we need to address what is the meaning of semantics? What is the concept of semantics? Semantics, in simple terms, is the study of the meaning of words, the meaning of sentences, and perhaps most important, the meaning of speakers. What a speaker try to convey when he's using a series of words or a single word in his speech. Okay, and we have an example as an example this cute girl here that is holding a clock with a sentence that reads each time. Okay, time can be defined as a part of our existence, and that is the meaning of the word. And then the sentence each time maybe refers that the time for something has come. And finally, there is the message that the cute girl is trying to convey. For example, she's maybe trying to hurry us up, or maybe she only wants to tell us that it's time to do something. So that's the message she's trying to convey. Okay, and the clock serves as a symbol to relate to the word time. Now, let's talk about sentence and word meaning, and also speaker meaning. Well, in fact, when we are talking about word meaning, it is exactly what it is. And I mean, word meaning refers to the definition or the idea we have of different words, or the whole variety of words in our language. For example, if you go and look for a word in a dictionary, you are going to find a series of definitions, and those are the meanings of the words that might be different, that may change depending on the context, sorry, or so on, but in certain way are limited. An example is the word love, that a close definition that I found in a dictionary is to like another person, an animal, or an object very much. And that's a literal definition. And perhaps we can find different versions, or other options for the same meaning of the word, but it is not going to change a lot, or it is not going to be highly modified. On the other hand, we have the sentence, I love you, sweetie. A sentence, referring to semantics, is the union of different word meanings to get a more complex meaning and to convey a message. In this case, I love you, sweetie, well, it is a reference that I really like a lot the person who I am talking to. In this part, it is very important to emphasize something. While words usually are not usually created or invented, sentences are invented in our everyday life. For example, right now I am inventing a lot of sentences that perhaps I never used before, but words don't work this way. Okay. Now, regarding a speaker meaning, that is perhaps the most tricky part of all of this topic. A speaker meaning refers to the message that wants to be conveyed to another person or to other people, no matter the meaning of the words in the sentence. For example, we have an example to to show what I am talking about here. We have the sentence, I love your attitude. And regarding the previous meanings that we saw before, we can think of a person really liking a lot the attitude of another person. But this image that is here, the angry girl that is shown on the screen, is not related to the sentence. So what is happening here? The thing that is happening is that perhaps "I love your attitude" is being said with sarcasm. The person, the speaker, is being sarcastic. So the meaning is totally different to what the word or the literal meaning of the sentence is. So that's what I am talking about, the speaker meaning. It is not exactly the literal meaning that the words have regarding semantics. And finally, to make a story short, we have this other sentence: "I love this hamburger." This sentence can have two meanings regarding a speaker meaning. The first one: "I really like this hamburger." And the second one can be kind of misunderstood, that can make another person who is not used to or to the English language, or a person who is not used to exaggerate the sentences. That person might think, "Are you going to marry the hamburger because you said that you love the hamburger?" Well, that's not the real meaning, because that's not what I wanted to convey to the person. As we've seen so far, semantics is not an easy topic at all. It's not a simple matter of study. A lot of challenges must be faced when studying semantics. But there are three of them that deserve to be addressed in this video. The first one is referred as circularity. Circularity refers to those times when we don't know the meaning of a word, when we are in doubt about the meaning of a word, and we go to our dictionaries, we start looking for that word. Let's imagine that the word is runner, for example, and you find the definition: runner, a person who runs. Yes, okay, but what is run? What is running? So you go and look for another word, the word running in your dictionary, and you continue in what seems to be an endless cycle of meanings. And that's exactly one of the problems that people who study semantics must face. That to get to a meaning, to a clear definition of a word, you have to pass through different definitions, and it doesn't seem to be uh, a last definition that summarizes all that process. Now, on the other hand, we have the challenge that accuracy and precision represent. But what do they stand for? Well, accuracy refers to which meaning do we choose or identify as exact in a language. The scientific meaning, for example, or maybe the popular meaning. Let's imagine that we have the word cat. And if we go and look for a scientific definition of a cat, we are going to find that perhaps it's an animal that comes from the feline family. But then, if we go and ask people to tell us the meaning of what a cat is, maybe they are going to tell us that a cat is an animal with four legs that likes to pursue mice. So here we have a problem. What is the correct meaning? Semantics cannot explain that, because semantics at the end is not a prescriptive science. It's more a descriptive science, and it only shows the phenomenon, but not tries to tell us what is correct on that respect. On the other hand, and also in addition to this challenge, we have the precision. Maybe in a culture, or maybe a society, thinks that a cat is an animal, in fact, with four legs, and that runs very fast and likes to pursue mice and to eat mice. But maybe in another culture, cat is a totally different concept, and we semantics tries always to identify the most specific concept, or a concept that reached to a general consensus. Okay. And finally, we have the challenge of the influence of context on meaning that refers a lot or that is strongly related to the speaker meaning. And we have this example. Have some flowers. Oops, I forgot to remove the vase. In this part, when the woman is telling the man that she forgot to remove the vase, we have two options. The literal meaning, that she really forgot to remove the vase, or a meaning based on the context of the situation that obviously is the most exact in this part. So this is a problem when studying semantics because we cannot determine easily the meaning of a word if we don't know the context this word is being said. Now, there are two terms that are important to address when we are studying semantics: reference and sense. Regarding reference, we can term it as the word we use to refer to an object from our real world, or what I want to call the connection between the semantic world, the meanings, and the real world. For example, we have the reference or the word popsicle. And when we hear that word, it helps to create a mental image that maybe it's similar to this we can see on the image here. And sense, on the other hand, can be defined as the image that springs to our minds each time or whenever we hear a reference. For example, we hear the word popsicle again, and in our image, we create in our mind, sorry, we create this image of a nice bar candy or a nice bar snack. And also, another person in another country can imagine a ball, like a snowball with flavor, because maybe in his country, popsicles are that way. So here we have two different things that we have to clarify. First of all, sense can be different from depending on the person. And second is that sense is related to many different words. Sense almost all the time has different relations in the semantic world. For example, here I have some synonyms to popsicle that I have found on the internet and that are related to the same sense, to the same image of this popsicle. And they can be ice lolly, ice pop, or even ice soccer. So the sense in the semantic world can have many different references. In order to explain the different levels of meaning in semantics, this science makes use of three different concepts that we are going to try to explain. The first of them is utterance. What an utterance is? Well, an utterance can be termed as a spoken part of a language, and this is very important to determine that utterances are limited by the spoken ability, the ability of speaking. They cannot be said on time, and with this we mean that once an utterance has been said, we cannot retrieve it again. Okay, it has been lost forever. The pauses before and after an utterance tell us when this utterance has been finished. For example, if I say, "What time is it?" Once that I have made the pause, it means that I have finished my utterance and that utterance has died, for example, so to speak. Utterances are composed by single words like time, maybe phrases like the time now, or full paragraphs like excuse me, can you excuse me? Can you tell me what time it is right now? Because I need the time to take my bus and so on. If I don't make any pause, all these words are just one single utterance. Okay, and we have here some examples. What time is it? The time now and time. All those are utterances as long as they are being spoken. Then we have an abstract concept because I forgot to mention that utterances are physical and sentences, for example, the second level of meaning in a language is abstract. Why? Let me tell you why. Sentence can be referred as a bunch of connected words that must follow the rules, the grammatical and syntactic rules of a language. Okay, this is important because if we don't follow these rules in the language, it's not a sentence at all. Sentences are used to convey full messages. Full messages making a difference from utterances that sometimes cannot convey a whole meaning. For example, ouch is an utterance and is not a full message. Sentences can be said on time, especially when they are written. If I write, for example, what time is it? Another person can retrieve this sentence in another time, in another day, another year, or even another age. And finally, sentences are not restricted by the spoken ability because they can be written, they can be read, and they can be listened in other times, apart from those when they were created. An example of a sentence, well, is what time is it again? I am using what time is it again. And I have written it twice because here an important distinction must be made. It doesn't matter how many times I repeat what time is it or I ask what time is it. There is only one sentence because it is the same. It doesn't matter if I repeat it twice or 100 times or 1,000 times. The sentence is the same. But depending on how many times I repeat the sentence, we are going to have several utterances. For example, if I say, what time is it? What time is it? What time is it? We have just one sentence. What time is it? Or one question. But we have three utterances. Okay? That's important to identify. That's an important point to identify. And finally, and perhaps the most complex part to understand is the preposition. The proposition, sorry. Proposition, in my opinion, can be termed as the nuclear idea, message, or meaning we want to transmit in a sentence or in an utterance. Okay? Propositions are not attached by any language, and this is important. This is something that we are going to see in a minute. This is the highest abstract sense because we cannot perceive a proposition physically, and also it is over the sentence, over the idea of the sentence. And a proposition can follow different grammar rules depending on how we want to transmit the message. And we have some examples here. We have again the same sentence. What time is it? This is a proposition. And the main idea of this sentence is that I want to know the hour. Okay. And below we have another different sentence. Can you tell me the hour? That follows different grammar rules. In this sentence, we are using a modal verb instead of a WH question. But the proposition is the same because the idea, the message, or the meaning that I want to transmit is that I want the hour. Okay? And finally, we have the sentence, the Spanish sentence, ¿qué hora es? And it follows the same proposition that those sentences above. It doesn't matter that it's from a different language because the idea, message, or meaning that I want to transmit is still the same. It's still the same. Okay. Last but not least, we have literal and non-literal meaning. Literal meaning refers to the way we usually convey messages or use our words to convey meaning without any hidden message. For example, if I say, I feel very sad, it means that I don't feel happy, and that's all. There is not any other message behind my words. If I say that I love you or that I love someone, it means that I feel a strong sense of respect or that I like a lot a group of people or a specific person. On the other hand, when we use non-literal meaning or words have hidden messages or background messages behind the message we are actually conveying. And we can do that for different purposes. For example, in order to be sarcastic, I can be crying and say, don't you see how happy I am? It is obvious that I am not happy at all, but maybe what I am trying to cause in the person who is listening to me is that he or she actually pays attention to me. On the other hand, we can use metaphors. For example, we have here this image of a boy saying to his dad, I want to eat you, dad. Obviously, the boy doesn't want to eat his dad. It's just a way to use a metaphor or to exaggerate the speech in order to express that he really likes his dad. Okay, and finally, I found something very interesting about something that is called rhetoric questions that can be termed as a mixture between literal and non-literal meaning. For example, we have the image of this man who says, "Why do I feel so bad?" He is in fact looking like ill and like feeling so bad. But the question doesn't have a literal meaning because he is not expecting any answer at all. He is just trying to emphasize his attitude. And that's an example of a literal and non-literal meaning in just one concept.